Oh man, Bucks winning tonight. I'm off the rails. Bucks winning tonight, 112-95 over the Denver Nuggets. Come on in the room. That's I was forgetting. I lost it. Come on in the room. Bucks winning 112-95 over the Denver Nuggets. Big win at home over the Nuggets. This is comes like Lisa Bryant just said it on the broadcast, coming full circle. Doc Rivers' first game as head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. They lose to the Denver Nuggets. Tonight, you come out, you win 112-95 over the Denver Nuggets. Come on in the room. Doc is our doctor. He writes out all of our scriptures. He gives us our medicine. Oh, man, I'm hearing a lot of feedback. It sounds like an airplane's passing through. In our room. That's I know. Maybe this is my headphones. 112-95 Bucks winning over the Denver Nuggets. Again, we are live. The Cream City crossover. The Guru, Trey Crosby III.
JT.
Chris King.
Yeah. So we all are here. A 112-95 victory for the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Again, tonight was a fun night, man. This is exactly what you want to see out of this basketball team. The Bucks hold two teams consecutively under 100 points. You have the Hornets to 84 points the other night, and then you hold the Denver Nuggets to 95 tonight. So the Bucks defense has started to pick up. And the Bucks absolutely dominated this matchup tonight, 112-95. If you have comments, you can at me at TCIIIESQ on the Twitter. And on the YouTube comments, we'll read those as well. But first, we got to start every game like we do with our game recap, sponsored as always by Off the Court. Off the court. You're getting defense on the court now, but you're getting defense off the court. The law office of Daly M. Johnson, get at him for criminal defense, trafficking, OWI defense, temporary restraining orders, and injunctions. He's serving Central and South Central Wisconsin, all over the state. You call him 608-893-8370. I'm going to say it one more time, 608-893-8370.
7-0.
There we go. You can go to his website, www.dmjlaw.com. Sign up for a free phone or in-person consultation, and he's going to get that done for you for whatever's going on. Okay, the Bucks win at 112-95. Let's go through the stats that took place tonight. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 30 minutes, 36 points, 18 rebounds. He was 14-19 from the field. 8 of 14 from the line, only two turnovers. Giannis was, as good as we've seen him tonight in a battle against Joker, the a former MVP in his league and the reigning NBA champion, reigning NBA Finals MVP. Giannis just outlasted him. It was just so much better than him. He looked better. He did everything you wanted him to do in a battle of these gigantic superstars right here, right? So he does it 36, 18, and 5. Brook Lopez, I thought, had a pretty decent game as well. 9 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, trying to defending Joker. And then you have Malik Beasley with 9 points as well. Damian Lillard had a rough start to the basketball game, but he puts up 14 points in the third quarter. He gives you 18, 5, and 3. Jay Crowder did his thing too. Had a couple steals. Bobby Porter's excellent first half. I don't know what happened in the second half, but he finishes with 13 points, 8 boards, 3 assists. Well, I know one thing that happened. He didn't finish the ball game because he got kicked out by Scott Foster. We'll talk about Scott Foster in a second, too, because I thought this was a poorly officiated game. Pat Beverley, 5 points, 4 assists. Pat Connaughton, 5 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. And your boy, Derry Bird, AJ Threen, AJ Automatic, AJ Reddick, as Doc Rivers likes to call him. He had a good night as well. 9 points for him, 3 of 5 from 3. Some other guys got into the basketball game, but in some garbage time. But I'll give you my initial thoughts on what I saw tonight. Again, I just thought this was a game. The Bucks this is a question: Are the Bucks back? Like, that's a legitimate question. We talked about whether or not a couple games ago was it a turning point for the Bucks? Is Patrick Beverley the turning point for the Bucks? But tonight, you've held 2 consecutive teams under 100 points, right? Your defense looks like it's coming around. The Bucks are up, and this is actually closer than the score. This is closer than the actual game was because the Bucks were up 30 at one point. You did this without Chris Middleton. Damian Lillard had 4 points in the first half. Like, the Milwaukee Bucks dominated this basketball game. And I know it's the second time this year the Bucks have had a quality opponent who essentially quit in the second half because Jamal Murray didn't come back. Oh, I can't come back. I'm hurt. And then you had Contavious call up. I can't come back. I'm hurt. No, you're down 20. You're getting your ass whooped. That's what it is. You're getting your ass whooped. Pat Beverley bringing out the belt. It's the belt to ass tour. And you decided not to play in the second half. I had somebody in the comments the other night. It's just Charlotte. It's just Charlotte. Well, now it's just Denver. How about that? Now it's Denver. So the Milwaukee Bucks, again, this thing, I don't think they're back because you can't be back if you never left. Again, the Bucks fired Adrian Griffin. They win at a 7% clip. So let's not act like this is like some comeback from the dead. The Bucks were never dead, all right? But this is what you want to see from this basketball team. Short-handed, all of that. The Milwaukee Bucks win at 112-95. So we'll get into some more specifics. That's what I saw. JT, what'd you see?
Man, you know what? Talk about that beat to A tour. They came out in that first quarter swinging. Now, I know it was only 28 points scored, but it was just kind of the momentum that was building in the first quarter. You knew Giannis was going to have a big night. You saw Malik Beasley with the back-to-back threes. I was loving life watching this first half. And, the thing is, the BTA tour picked up steam as we went, right? Look at it like this, and I'm going to take a second offensively. I'm going to pause offensively with my analysis here. You realize in that first half, let's talk about the defense, right? Now, some of it was obviously shot selection. There were some issues too, but you realize Aaron Gordon had 0 points at the half?
Oh, yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. had a whopping total of 3 points at the half, and he was on his way to shooting the tour day. He was 1 for 6 from the field. Obviously, Jokic did what Jokic does, right? But, that momentum kind of stalled out, and I think in the second half, right? Jamal Murray had 3 points. I get it. I get it, right? Your man's Contavious won. Holiday 3. Basically, they had one player in double figures after the first half, which and they're down 44-60, right? So think about it. The Bucks won tonight by 17, and we pretty much kept up the momentum. But most impressive, or one of the more impressive things as well, the Bucks held the Nuggets to 19 points in the third quarter. You just simply can't do that against a team like the Bucks, right? With the firepower that the Bucks have and the lead the Bucks have, good luck scoring 19 points. I absolutely love to see it. A couple other things I want to point out. So Bucks tonight shot 47% from three. Now, I know we can't expect this night in and night out, right? That is a bit of an anomaly, but that's 10 points up from their season average. Conversely, you had the Nuggets shoot 27.5% from three. They shoot 37, right? Again, another credit to the defense. Nuggets are averaging 114 points per game, which I believe is good for like 17th or 18th in the league. Tonight, they didn't help their calls. Nope, they didn't help their calls tonight, scoring 95 points, right, as well. So, I look at it like this. When we talk about this pregame, what did the Bucks need to do? Man, I think they did it, right? Minus Dame, right? It's still some shaky moments from Dame. He was not very efficient tonight, right? But the other guys stepped up. Folks chipped in, right? Folks chipped in and just did their part. And it was a big win. Good win for the Bucks tonight. This is a momentum builder, right? We're building, what we say, Trey, we're building momentum, right? With your boy Doc. Doc is in the building, and we head into a good matchup tomorrow night. Man, looking forward to the BTA tour continuing.
Just to go off that, I got to give credit to Doc and his game plan. They really made Jokic beat him. And when you have one of the best front courts defensively in the NBA, it's not going to be easy on the Nuggets. And I saw what they did just from a basketball perspective, and it was great. They were sagging off of Aaron Gordon, making him shoot threes, making him beat him in that way. And then it was easy for them to defend because they didn't have it going offensively. And then so once you saw that, they were missing shots, they were getting out in transition, moving the ball, getting open looks. And that's what I saw tonight. It's pretty much just great basketball all around. I have no complaints with what that was. And I think it all starts from top to bottom, from Doc all the way down to the last player on the bench. I think they've been really prepping and really starting to figure each other out. So it was a good showing tonight.
Tony World says, I thought the Chris minutes were on point. Of course, Chris Middleton hater. I'm going to get to Brenda's comment in a second because she said, hello, guys. Analysts on NBA Game Time are still not giving the Bucks the credit they deserve. I'm obviously not. We're not watching NBA Game Time. I'm assuming that they're giving excuses for the injuries. I'm assuming that's what I'm guessing. I'm not sure exactly what the issue is there or why the Bucks aren't getting credit for this win tonight. But I'll say this again, like you guys giving credit to Doc Rivers, 100% Doc Rivers deserves the credit. And you're starting to see, again, the difference between his defensive team. Again, I think Adrian Griffin, and we talked about this before, Adrian Griffin he overcorrected the defensive lapses that Mike Budenholzer had, giving up those 3-point shots. And so it turned into, we're going to basically hug every 3-point shooter we can. We're not going to give up threes. And what you saw was some miscommunications on getting to the basket. And then you saw this layup line parade to the basket because, oh my God, the 3-point shooters are covered and there's just no help. And then you add to it your bad point of attack defenders in Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley, guys running past him, and Brook Lopez just at the rim. He's got his guy rolling behind him for lobs. They got the other guys going to the basket, and he just couldn't get there in time. But Doc Rivers has changed that up. It looks much more like Bud's defense that we'd originally seen. And then, but what you want to see are the wrinkles to it, where you do have Giannis doing some different things. He's back roaming. So you talk about the first half, John Tyus. In the first half, Aaron Gordon, why did he end up with 0 points in the first half? Well, he was a self-check. Like Giannis was literally playing free safety because he was looking at Aaron Gordon saying, "You shoot it if you want it, do whatever you want. I'm going to help out my guys." And that's how the Bucks played it. And so you are seeing the difference of, we're not going to hug on every guy that's sitting in the 3-point line. The bad 3-point shooters, we're going to get off of you. And we're going to force you to beat us if you can. And so that has been a compliment that Doc Rivers, or an adjustment that Doc Rivers has made to this basketball team. It has clearly worked. It has helped Brook Lopez because now he has a little more help. Guys are able to stay in front a little bit better. There's some more help that's coming. So these straight line drives aren't just beelining to the basket. You got to worry about somebody coming over. Well, now do you kick? Do you hesitate? Are they coming? Are they not? I thought the Bucks had a great game plan on Joker. There were times, and Marcus Johnson talked about this on the broadcast. Sometimes there was a double coming. Sometimes Bobby Portis was blitzing. Sometimes Giannis was coming. Sometimes he was back off. Sometimes Brook Lopez had Joker one-on-one. Like I'm going to show you different looks, and that kept the Nuggets off balance. They didn't hit threes at a high rate. I think Mike Porter Jr. hit a few, but again, just an excellent game. And I thought Giannis just had this pep. And again, I talked about this before, especially with the Denver Nuggets. Looking forward, the Denver Nuggets are matchup problems for a lot of teams. But you look, and the Bucks have a Brook Lopez, and he is very valuable against the Denver Nuggets. I've talked about this before. The Milwaukee Bucks are a great matchup. I think it's a great matchup seeing the Denver Nuggets. And not every team can say that, but the Bucks match up very well because they just don't have a Giannis stopper. Like Aaron Gordon cannot stop Giannis. Joker, the Bucks are actively trying to get switches to get Joker on Giannis because he can't stay in front of him. Like I said, Dame started off slow. I thought Brenda talks about the officiating being an issue as well. But I thought the night was good just overall, especially going into Miami. You're gonna have a back-to-back, and I'm assuming Dame only played 20 or so minutes because of the ankle. It made sense. You're up 20, no reason to bring him back. But again, just proud of this basketball team and the way they played in front of that home crowd. And we talked about the stretch that they have coming up until March the 1st, John Tyus and Chris King. This is a stretch where you can get a lot of wins coming in. You can get 7-8 wins here. We talked about splitting these two against the Heat and the Nuggets. And you already beat the Nuggets. And the Miami Heat are going to be without Jimmy Butler. Again, prayers up to whoever. He had a personal family member who died or something like that. So he's going to be out against Milwaukee tomorrow night. Prayers up to that, but it's going to work out in the Bucks' favor because you're not going to have to deal with the Jimmy Butler. Again, you can propel yourself headed into the break and after the break with some quality wins going, like I said, headed into the end of February.
So I want to bring up this point, because we've talked about this before. So one thing we've learned about the Nuggets too is it seems to me, and it seems to most viewers, as if the Nuggets, they go as Jamal Murray goes. I get that Jokic is this incredible player, right? And at times he's tilting the floor, he's killing it, he's going to get his numbers right. But if you stop Jamal Murray, if he can't get going, I think this team, it's kind of like the boxer that gets hit and their legs are wobbly, the entire match, right? They can't get any good punches off. They just can't get their momentum. That's kind of what happens here, right? Jamal Murray is, to give an analogy here, is kind of the head of the snake, right? Which is interesting because you would think that's Jokic. But yeah, you saw that. Bucks, he couldn't get going. He couldn't get going. It was infectious to the team, and it was an excellent game plan. The other thing, though, so Doc, we talk about him mixing up the defense, right, and kind of mixing up the different looks, and right, and sometimes he's playing that YMCA defense where they yelling at that one guy like, "Hey man, he can't shoot it, don't matter, just let that go, let that ride," right? And then you're out there on him. Now you're out there and you're doing that. A lot of that, to me, I think it comes from experience, but it honestly has to come from a degree of trust that you have with the team that you've only been coaching for a short period of time, right? And so, granted, I'm sure Doc saw a lot of the Nuggets out there when he was with the Clippers and over the past couple of years, but credit to Doc for trusting his guys and saying, "Listen, this is what we're going to do. It's going to work out. I know I haven't been here 3 weeks, but we're gonna try this out." And it worked out perfectly for the Bucks. Great win. Salute to Doc.
Yeah, this is great for momentum. And then Trey, also along with Jimmy Butler, Terry Rozier just messed up his knee, so he'll be out for a couple of weeks. I think it's a sprained right knee. Glad it wasn't anything worse, but so he'll be out. And then you also just blitzed one of the better teams in the defending champions. Yep. So you got that going for you, and especially after starting, a shaky 1-5 under Doc, I think this just builds tremendous confidence. And once you're done with it, you get a break. You head into the All-Star break with this sense of, all right, now we're figuring it out. And so I'm really excited to see what they do. I think it all starts. It really started tonight, but it's going to keep going tomorrow.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. These are the Milwaukee Bucks you wanted to see, 100%. John Hassel says, best win in NBA history. The tables are now turned. I won't go that far, but I like it. I like it. Mario Lunar has a question, says, should AJ Green start? John responded, John Hassel says, yes, AJ should start. He can keep his man in front of him and grab a board as well as shoot. So, no, I'm not going to say that AJ Green should start. I like the Jay Crowder piece where he starts in the absence of Chris Middleton. But I'll throw that question to you. Should AJ Green, be a starter on this team, particularly when Chris Middleton's out of the game? I said this earlier today during the game that, and because Doc Rivers has talked about in the press conferences, they say, are you going to play any young guys? And Doc Rivers has alluded to, we're going to need at least one of these young guys to play. And everybody, obviously, you're thinking, well, he must be talking about Andre Jackson Jr., or is he talking about Marcin Beauchamp? It's pretty clear the one young guy right now that he trusts over everybody is AJ Green. And for the reasons that are mentioned, he can keep somebody in front of him, and he shoots the ball, lights out. Again, his Doc, and you know what? It's because Doc Rivers' nickname for AJ Green is AJ Redick. Of course, JJ Redick played for Doc Rivers in Philadelphia. So maybe that's who he reminds him a bit of. I think he probably plays a little bit better defense than JJ Redick. JJ Redick has probably, at this point, just a better clutch gene than AJ Green. But you can't, I guess you can teach shooting, but guys that can shoot the ball like that, you're always going to find a way onto the court. But again, I'll ask the question, lead a question to you from the listener viewer. Should AJ Green start? And I'm assuming they're talking about when Chris Middleton is not in the lineup.
No, not at all. But I will say that AJ Green is carving out a role as a guy coming off the bench. And right now, I think you playing him somewhere between 10 to 20 minutes, right? And increase a little bit if you need to. Is a perfect role for AJ Green. By the way, AJ Green, although it's a much smaller sample size, he's a better career three-point shooter than JJ Redick. I believe JJ Redick was at like 41.5. AJ Green is career 42%. So, man, got to go ahead and give our guy AJ Green some love there. But no, I don't think you put him quite in the lineup yet. I certainly think he does bolster that second team, and I think that's his role. That's the comfort. I mean, I think, now, having said that, 10, 15 more games of this, you see a little bit more, and you say, you know what, Chris is out. Let's give him a look based on matchups. Okay, maybe, but I think right now it's a bit premature to put him in that starting lineup.
I don't think you start him either, but I think his defense works really well with Pat Beverley. I thought they did a great job on whoever it was. I think it was maybe KCP and Jamal Murray for a little bit, or Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray for a little bit. I thought those two fed off of each other, and it really made it tough on the Nuggets when Dame and Beasley went to the bench. So they're kind of throwing different looks at you, right? Your starting lineup guards can really score it and are a little more dynamic scoring the ball offensively. But then your second unit now comes in and locks in defensively. So it provides a different look when different staffs and different teams are trying to, keep their star guards out there when Dame and Beasley get to the bench. So I think it's really good to have him off the bench. And like you said, if Chris does stay out for a longer period of time or whatnot, and he keeps this up and continues to shoot at this volume and make them at this volume, then I think you may pull the trigger on starting him over Beasley. But I just think that Beasley's a little more skilled with the ball in his hands. He's not just a catch and shooter.
Yeah, let's talk about this second unit for a bit, because I really like the way that they play. And I talked about this during the game, the fact that, and again, Pat Beverley is not as good an offensive player as Campaign. He doesn't have as much skill, just much bag as Campaign. But to me, it looks like he runs the offense better. He's clearly a better defensive player. He's a pest. He does all the little things. I mean, there was a play in the game where, it's the little things. There's a loose ball, and how many times have we seen 50-50 balls that the Bucks just don't find a way to get? There's a loose ball, and Pat Beverley doesn't end up grabbing this loose ball. It's off a rebound, bouncing in the air, but Pat is running full speed at the ball. And because I can't remember who the guy was for Denver, who was I don't even want to say they're casually going to it, but they're going to go get the ball. But Pat's running full speed and almost creates this collision to where, and there was no call, but Pat creates almost another collision because he's going for the ball. And instead of the Denver player just grabbing the ball and continuing their possession, because it was off of a missed shot, and then we got a rebound, got another 14 seconds to go back on the shot clock, try to score again and get a second chance point. The ball bounces up again, and this time it just so happens to bounce in the direction of another Milwaukee Buck, and boom, you're off to the races. Like, it's the little plays like that a Campaign is not going to give you, because he's not going full speed at the basketball when it's bouncing around loose. Pat Beverley is doing all those little things. And so I guess, and the other thing I said that I really wasn't familiar with, I'm going to say, this is a little meme. I'm sorry I wasn't familiar with your game. I was not familiar with the fact that Patrick Beverley could initiate an offense the way that he kind of does. He's really directing traffic out there. So again, he doesn't shoot like Campaign. He doesn't create plays. I don't want to say Campaign creates plays, but he's not really a playmaker or a creator on the floor. But he can get you into and out of an offensive set, which is what the second team really, really needed.
One point that I will make, though, is that Campaign, right, while he was this remarkable shooter, or while he was an impressive shooter, Campaign had zero impact on this Bucks team. Let's just keep it a buck here. He had zero impact. He couldn't really find his way into the rotation. I mean, quite honestly, I think that signing was a bit of a disappointment, because I thought he would be better for this team. Conversely, Patrick Beverley, right, who has a higher career three-point shooting percentage than Campaign. Bet y'all didn't know that. Campaign's at 36, Pat Beverley's at 38. I think Pat Beverley's impact on this team is already felt, and it's kind of been a day one thing, right? You can see where his contributions are. They're palpable. And Campaign's never were. Campaign kind of felt like a luxury that showed up sometimes. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he did not play. So, my point is that this is a positive for the Bucks by getting rid of Campaign for someone who has a day one impact that's significant, like Pat Beverley's has been so far.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Trey. There were plenty of instances tonight where I saw Pat Bev demanding the ball and initiating something and trying to get the ball to Giannis on mismatches and stuff like that. And I think that's what you get out of a great basketball mind. And it's kind of proved itself that he's become somebody who's been around the game and become familiar with some great coaches, because he's been a journeyman, let's be honest. He's been around a ton of basketball in different areas, different games. And I feel like after he's done playing, he'll probably be a coach. So it's great to have that guy in our locker room, on the floor. And, yeah, he's been great. And I think he fits the Bucks offense perfectly, because he's also a catch-and-shoot guy. And so I think, it allows Giannis to have another guard out there who can just catch and shoot. at the perimeter because he creates so many offensive looks. So it's great. I've loved it so far in just the 2 games.
To your point, John, yeah, you mentioned that Pat Beverley had shot the ball, but who'd you say he shot the campaign? He shot the ball
better career average than campaign.
Yeah, so Pat Beverley, initially when he first got into the league and, it was early on, he actually did shoot the ball a little better. He's a guy whose shot has kind of fallen by the wayside as the years have gone by. So shots kind of lost it. But yeah, it's a good point that, yeah, he used to have a little bit better of a jump shot. Now not as well. But again, impacting the game in other ways. To get to some of the comments, King of King says it's the Pat Bev effect. Nicholas Hazlitt says AJ plays Pat C's job better than Pat does. John Hassel says defense was amazing. Guys are moving with a purpose. First time I've seen this all year. Kylan Ray C says, what is it with the BTA shit? Anybody want to let him know what the belt to ass tour means? Does anybody want to care to enlighten my guy Kyle about the B2A?
Go ahead and tell him what time it is. Pat Bev, he tweets it after every game here with the Bucks. He said the belt to ass tour continues in Milwaukee. And that's what this team is doing. And since Pat Bev has been here, hey, they winning games by double-digit points. They really are. They whipping them cheeks, man. They getting in them like a bike without a seat. And
tell you the belts.
Right.
Bring the belts out.
Right. Because all y'all had parents. I know y'all had parents tell you do it again and watch what happens.
Yeah.
Do it again and watch what happens. Right?
Yeah.
Belt to ass, right? Because the belt to ass is what? The belt to ass is the negotiation. That's the negotiator between a parent and a toddler and young kids. There you go, right? The belt to ass is the negotiator, and that's also the peacemaker.
Absolutely,
man. Make the rules. I'm just telling y'all.
Chris, I don't know. Chris might be a little too young. Since he's new wave parents.
No.
You
got
some growing up.
Yeah.
Okay. See,
hey, it made its way up to Ohio. I don't know about
Listen, if you from deep enough in the South, it's switch the ass.
Hey,
shoot the ass.
Yes, sir.
Shoot the ass, right?
Hey,
look, hey, the little, your grandma had him.
Pick a tree.
Your grandma ever had them house shoes? You know, talk about them house slippers with no heel out the back. The house slippers where you literally your foot slide in. It's like I don't know what the hell it is. It's just covering the top of your feet, right? Yeah. Them things right there, boy. They make that they make that sound. You know what that sound sound like? Oh, that's a slipper hitting that ass.
Yeah, I had to pick my own switch from outside. It's bad. You got to pick your own switch from outside and get it on the tree. So that's yeah. But yeah, that's what that's all about. Again, you got to get on the Pat Bev podcast. He does a great podcast. I think him and Ron is funny too. If you ever watch the Pat Bev podcast, so but that's what that's all about. And he is bringing that attitude, that mentality. That's all it is. It's a mentality. He's bringing that to Milwaukee. And again, 2 games. You talk about the record in the Doc Rivers era. The record in the Pat Bev era is 2-0. So we'll see if that continues and what happens there. Nicholas Hass says the Bucks have struggled against the Nuggets since the Jokic emergence. Hope we can turn the matchup around. Charles says to Brenda's point, yes, the TV analysts refused to respect Bucks' defensive improvement. They kept saying the Nuggets had an off night. I've seen some comments in the chat about the officiating tonight. I'll go on that for just a second. Scott Foster is just the worst, man. He is. I can't stand the guy. I mean, so he starts off and he just starts impacting the game. You get 2 quick fouls on Dame. You get 2 fouls on Giannis. That kind of stuff happens, right? And it is. I thought, and again, you just have to be careful when you're dealing with a character like Scott Foster. Like that's the kind of guy he is. You just have to be careful about it. So you have those happen. He also called a palming or a carrying on Giannis, which again I saw Christian Braun come in and do the exact same thing. You call carry every time down. So I didn't understand that. He called the technical foul on Bobby Portis. He called a technical. I'm not sure who called the tech on Dame. But I thought the officiating was poor at the beginning of the game, and that's why again I'll say this: I don't feel bad, and I've tried. I used to do this real bad, Chris. Like when I was younger, mm-hmm. I would blame officials like all the time, and maybe because in some of that I've realized it's because the Bucks were not as good. And so when you're talking about those, you watched the Bucks 2012, Carlos Delfino, and those Bucks teams, right, with Gary Neal is getting the most shots in the game, and Brandon. Those teams weren't really that good, and so not only could they not overcome bad officiating, they couldn't overcome 60-40 officiating the other way. This Milwaukee Bucks team is good enough that you can overcome some calls that don't go your way. And what I've really tried to do is stay out of and stay off of criticizing the officials, especially when the Bucks are down. And so I feel better about talking about the officiating when the Bucks are winning. And so that's how I know that the officiating was poor, because I was talking about the officiating when the Bucks were up by 20, 25 points.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Foster and what kind of character he is. It feels like he wants the spotlight to be on him. So it's tough. But when you're winning games and you got it rolling, it really doesn't matter. So I'm glad that they weren't allowing it to kind of affect them. I mean, I guess Bobby he hit the home run at the end with the ejection, but it didn't matter outside of that. So I'm glad to see. And if you want to watch bad officiating, see, this is why I love college basketball so much, but I like watching the NBA too, because their refs aren't as bad as college basketball. So I can sleep at night with that.
Yeah, and to Bobby Portis's point, Scott Foster was the one, I believe, who called the tech on him when he dunked and he slapped the backboard, which I just don't get. I don't get some of that stuff. Oh, look at JT, computer died back at it. I don't get. Got couldn't handle. I don't. I guess I don't understand the consistency. There's a couple things I don't understand consistency of. I don't understand that Damian Lillard once or twice a night has that shot where he pulls up in his shooting motion. I get the Chris Paul rip throughs that don't get that is a side out. I get that, but the Dame in his shooting motion, shooting it because you're in the cookie jar. 80% of the time they call it and it's a side out, and then the other 20% of the time it's an and one or a two shot foul. Which tonight, for whatever reason, it was a 2-shot foul. It's like, how do you come up with that? And then on the technical foul stuff, like this is what blows my mind. So there's a technical foul for dunking and slapping the backboard. But I watched the Phoenix Suns play the Golden State Warriors the other night, and I watched Yusuf Nurkic lay the ball up over Draymond Green and do the too small and smack the floor. I watched Draymond Green come back, lay the ball back up over Nurkic and do the too small back at him, even more demonstrative, and there's nothing for that. So if that's not like, how is too small not taunting, but slapping the backboard after a dunk or staring at somebody is? I'll never understand that. And then of course, I think the second was definitely warranted. I think there was a disconnect, two things with the way the calls had gone for Bobby Portis a little bit, and then I think that was what he was upset about. And I think he was also upset because he just didn't have a great second half. Like, he missed basically every shot he took in the second half. So I think he was a little upset. And if you saw it, he actually kind of fake kicked at the ball, like he was going to kick it, and he faked it, and he just threw it over his head. And Scott Foster hit him up with the tee, got him up out of there. So Scott was on one tonight for sure. 100% Scott was on one.
We've been complaining about this a lot, officiating, and is that the sixth man on the court, right? Or are we playing 5-on-8? Hopefully not, right? I mean, obviously some nights you're not going to get any calls. Let's just hope that some nights are extremely favorable to us with the calls. It's something we've gotten used to as Milwaukee fans, but I definitely think you gotta talk about it, man. You got to talk about it because it's not a great look for the league, and I need the league to realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so absolutely. So again, that's what you're looking to see. The Bucks did a great job tonight, 112-95 over the Denver Nuggets. Let's talk a little bit about the impact of AJ Green and what you've been seeing for our guy Derry Bird. Again, he is a perfect guy. I think whoever the commenter said it, that he does Pat Connaughton's job better than Pat Connaughton. I really, somebody asked, whether he should start. No, but I think, when you're talking about that second unit coming in, I think you're in a great spot if it's Bobby coming in as your backup big for whoever for whoever Brook or Giannis, whoever sits first. And then that second guy, if you're taking a wing out, which, if Chris is in, it's Chris, or, if it's Jay Crowder in this scenario or Malik Beasley, that wing guy coming in, the first guy really could be like, that's where your impact could be, or the next guy coming in really could be AJ Green. He could be that next guy, no matter who's coming out from that spot, him coming in. I think sometimes it just depends. Is it Pat Connaughton? Is it Jay Crowder when Chris Middleton's not playing? who's it going to be? That's where you're looking at, truly being that sixth man per se, or really that first wing off the bench. I think that's a perfect spot for AJ Green. And you could argue, has he already earned it? Does he need to do a little more to earn it? Sure. But again, he's a guy who's going to shoot the ball at a high level. How tall is he? You might know how tall is AJ Green?
He's like 6'4",
6'4"?
yeah, 6'4", 190.
6'4", 190. Again, I just think he sticks his head in there, sticks his nose in there, and stick his head in there. He's gonna stick. Well, he stick his nose in there too. He's going. My bad.
Oh man.
But
Oh,
let me
man.
stop. My bad. What I'm
Oh,
saying
man.
is he's going to slide his feet and he's going to get in good defensive position. And again, that's something that maybe I think he does, because I think Pat Connaughton. I think Pat Connaughton's a little bit out of control sometimes defensively. I think he tries hard, but he's a little out of control. I think sometimes Malik Beasley tries hard, but somehow guys just able to shoot over him. Sometimes it happens to AJ Green too. But AJ Green just has, again, a solid foundation up under him. I think he does a really good job. That's nothing. Solid foundation is nothing.
Up under him. Yeah, solid foundation up under him. There you go. Yeah, on D.
And his feet on.
Oh,
he's going crazy.
Ayo.
Trey going crazy.
Let me quote. Last thing I say, yes, I think he plays defense at as high level as you can for a guy who's not known to be a defender, and it's just enough. I'm always come away impressed watching AJ Green, and when he's knocking down the 3-point shot, there's nothing. I mean, again, he's always going to be a positive impact player.
Well, listen, in 3 of his last 5 games, right? In 3 of his last 5 games, he shot over 50% from 3. I mean, there's no question that this guy he is a great 3-point shooter. Or let me not say great, right? Because obviously there's levels to this. There's no question that he's a really good 3-point shooter for this team, and he's playing that role well. And I love it because it's the emergence of a young guy coming off the bench, right? We talked about Doc, who was effectively redshirting everybody with less than 2 years of NBA experience, and that's just kind of the way this thing has gone. And you talk about earlier in this season, you saw Andre Jackson Jr., you saw Dr. Griffin make him, all right, look, you're the young guy I want to play. You're the young guy I want to invest in. And quickly that's turned to Doc, who Doc said, you know what, I'll take more offense. And you know what I love about, you know how I feel about offense versus defense. Doc has said, listen, I want your offense here. Move your feet, slide your feet, get in position if you can, right? Do what you can defensively, use whatever gifts you got. But for the most part, I need you hitting them threes. I need you out there like you from Northern Iowa, making it rain. And he has done that. I mean, I'm excited about Derry Bird. I don't want to completely close the door on Pat Connaughton, but, the eyes never lie, man. And it just seems like Pat Connaughton is a shell of himself. Now, big shot Pat may return at some point. There's no question about that, right? But I think there's a whole lot of hope and wishing when I say that statement versus anything, anything clear and convincing on the basketball court.
I know I give John Horst a lot of flack for acquiring talent and stuff like this, but this is just a crazy guy to just keep around for a couple years and be able to, have him going on 2 ways, and he went undrafted and go sign him for a little bit. And this is a great piece to have, and hopefully we can have him for the future as well. I mean, he's so good at just getting to his spots, knocking down wide open threes, and that's what you want. You want to have that trust as a fan that you're always 3 points away or you're always 3 points ahead with a player like this on the floor. So just him being out there, and then the emergence of his defense as well, I didn't know he could defend like that. So for him to be able to stay in front of guys, and he's really long pause that he can really – it just makes it easier for his defense. So it's good to see. It's good to see. Good to see a guy like this get right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And so, again, tonight he puts in 15 minutes, just creeping up there. Like I said, Pat gets 22. But, again, the more and more confidence and trust that he can build with Doc Rivers, the better. Because I really, really, really would love to see him crack. I don't know what Doc Rivers' rotation is going to be in the playoffs. These things, that's how it goes. You nail it down. You get, rotation maybe 8, 9 guys or what have you. But I really hope that AJ Green can get himself. Oh my goodness, Kawhi Leonard. I hope AJ Green can get himself into. I'm sorry. I hope AJ Green can get himself into that conversation. And so that he can not say close games, but so that he can be in the rotation in the playoffs in big, important basketball games. Couple more comments. 608 UW says Cream City crossover after dark tonight. Yeah, well, it's 11:08 on the East Coast, so you know how that's going. I'm gonna get to some Twitter comments before we do game balls. And there's a question here I want to get into. Martinez Coleman Jr. says the defense was on fire. If people can't see the difference with Doc coaching this team, you're not trying to see it. And maybe Pat Bev rejuvenated this team from the brink of despair. The belt to ass tour is alive and well. Let's effing go. At James Ontario 12. This is I like seeing and hearing the positivity. So for 50-some games, I don't know if you're just now joining us at the Cream City crossover, this is maybe your first time watching. I know we got a lot of new viewers, people watching. Well, first off, like, share, follow, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend as we continue this thing. We've been doing this after every Bucks game. But if this is your first time listening to us, a common theme, obviously, if you're a Bucks fan, has been some complaining and crying after wins. Because again, this team, I just keep thinking about how the breath of air and the talk around this basketball team was so doom and gloom as they won, like as if they were like the Phoenix Suns who really struggled out of the gate. Or if they were another team that struggled out of the gate. John getting his dishes done. But
you act like your wife ain't told you, listen, man, run them dishes, right? And if you don't do it in the morning, you already know what time it is. What you gonna say? Oh, I forgot. She's gonna be like, yeah, you was down there in the kitchen. What you mean you forgot? Come on, man. Yeah, I know what time it is.
I feel it. You got your Don Ultra in there and making sure the dish is nice and.
Man, personally, I'm cheap. I want to use the Costco. You know, whatever the little Costco brand is or whatever. Like the little Costco, it's like the dot or whatever that is. Man, every time I get overruled, it'd be like on the is it Dawn or whatever.
Cascade? What's that?
Man, the Cascade. Oh, my wife be wanting the Cascade silver thing, and I'm like, yo, that's $25 for some dish soap. Come on, man, it's gonna do the same thing as a little Costco.
Gotta make sure this is clean.
The Jet or whatever that's called, man.
I feel you. But yeah, I don't know where I was going, but yeah, okay. At James Ontario, well, that's what I'm saying. The breath of air around this basketball team, it was just different. Like people were complaining and crying even throughout wins. And so it's good to see that people are, at the very least, are watching this team. And it seems like for the last couple of games, people are enjoying what they're seeing. At James Ontario 12 says, I'm going to make this simple. All the anti-PJ back to the Bucks fans need to apologize about the concept of the player needed on this team. The reason we needed a Pat Bev, a PJ, a Draymond kind of guy is about the locker room presence, communication on both ends, and intangibles. I don't disagree at all. I mean, I'm right there with you on that because I totally agree. At the Heart 96 says all Giannis needs is to beat Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he'll have collected all the MVP candidate Infinity Stones. Surely he'll get serious consideration. Game-wise, fantastic defense to offense. Pat Bev's aura and the IQ is the difference. Team looks like they actually give a F. Love to see it. And then at Bucks fan Killbum says back-to-back under 100 performances from this team seem unfathomable. Imagine what happens when they get to a fifth practice under Doc. And this is the question I want to ask you guys from Kevin 685-81604. He says, I really think Doc should place Middleton on the bench as a scorer. It will help bench production for the team as a whole. If he starts, it will slow down the pace on both sides. Just saying. So that's the question. Before we go to game balls, that's the question I want to get to. Question on the floor. When Chris Middleton returns, and we don't know how long it's going to be, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, no idea. When Chris Middleton returns, do you think that he should be a bench player? Should he come off of the bench, and could he, in that role, almost like I think Klay Thompson's still starting, but Klay Thompson doesn't finish games. Should Chris Middleton come off the bench, and could that bolster this team? As like I said, in that second unit, imagine the second unit of like Pat Bev, AJ Green, Chris Middleton, and Bobby Portis, where Chris Middleton is now Chris Middleton going against second stringers as opposed to having to go against ones all the time and probably one of your best wing defenders. Maybe he's now going against a backup unit. I mean, I'd say there's some credence to it. I don't think I would go for it. I don't think he's there just yet. But, I mean, I understand why people are saying that. What do you guys think about that?
Listen, if this team continues to roll like this as he comes back, don't rush that man back. Listen, you could throw him with the second team for let's see what it looks like, right? I 100% would be open to that, right? It may not be a permanent thing, but yeah, if he's going to play a couple games, he'll come off the bench. Okay, fine. Now, I don't know what that does for Chris as far as his feelings go, and if he might feel some type of way, because everybody's got an ego, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm not against that. One thing I will say though, right, and I don't want to throw I don't want to throw I don't want to throw this out there and have it be too controversial, but it's late. Everybody got to go to work tomorrow, so I get it. But you know how during the trade deadline we were clamoring for we should bring in this player, we should make this trade, we should do this, we should do that, right? Is it possible that at this point the solution to a lot of our issues was a move like Pat Beverley, but the balance of which comes from within? Was the solution to our issues not so much personnel as much as it was coaching and strategy and how we're going to do things, right? Like, it's a question that I just think that it's a fair one to ask. I mean, granted, it's been 2 games, but looking at some of the different things that Doc has been able to do, looking at how guys have responded, looking at the overall performances here, defensively, like you said, you said on Bucks and 60, we got rid of the Swiss cheese D. Right, we got rid of the look. I'm gonna give you all the lanes and go ahead and drive to the bucket. Right, we're gonna give you that. We're just gonna give you 3. Right, we've changed a lot of this, the mixing and matching and putting guys in position here. I'm kind of thinking that maybe our problem wasn't as bad as we thought it was earlier. Maybe the issues weren't as bad as it was or that we thought it was earlier with personnel is one, and 2. I'm thinking maybe Doc's in his bag a little bit. Maybe coaching is helping solve this problem too.
Well, I think that was a situation that we also just had to wait out, and he had to kind of feel out the team. I think Trey and I had said that they could still figure it out even if they didn't make a trade at all. But definitely adding Pat Beverley into the fold and then playing A.J. Green a little more and getting the young guys out there. I think that's also why you're seeing this Bucks team create a little momentum. As far as Chris going to the bench goes, I think that it would be nice to see. Like, I'm on the same page as JT with this. Like, it would be nice to see, and when you kind of ramp him up and get him against some second stringers, I think it would be good, and it'll allow him to kind of read some defenses and what they're doing. But I also think that there's a lot of scoring to go around in that starting 5 when he's in there. So it's like I think they play a little bit more freely when they have a role player out there like a Jay Crowder and a Malik Beasley who's a catch and shoot guy. That way they don't have to get their superstars, all 3 of them, their big 3, all the shots. And so I think that works a little bit as well. You probably at the end of games you probably wouldn't go to it as much. You probably have Chris out there because it's clutch shot making. But other than that, like I think I would like to see some of those looks.
Yeah, and to your point, just because you don't start doesn't mean you don't finish. So, yeah, you could still finish with that closing group and have Chris, Giannis, and Dame out there. But that's a great point you make, Chris, where you bring up, do you play a little more free when Chris Middleton's not on the floor? Because there are times I feel like where guys go, okay, it's been a lot of Dames, been a lot of Giannis. All right, it's got to be Chris. It's Chris's turn now. And you hate getting into that, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's my turn, your turn. Well, you haven't shot the ball in 4 possessions, so you got to shoot the ball now. You don't want to turn into that. So there's some good points to that. And John, to answer your question, you asked about whether or not, the incremental moves, could have been the thing the Bucks needed to do. And, was that the move? Was that the fix? Well, that was kind of some of the things we talked about that could potentially happen. Again, we talked about Quentin Grimes being a guy. Quentin Grimes, much like a Pat Beverley. I think he's a little bit younger and more athletic than Pat, obviously. But that would have been a very minor move, margin move. You could still maybe he starts over Malik Beasley, but it's still a marginal move that's not like implementing a DeJounte Murray into your team or Andrew Wiggins or some of the other names that were discussed. We always thought that this team was going to be fine. Like, I think that is at least the difference with us 3 and what we did on this show. When you look at some of the other people on Bucks Twitter and just the talk around this basketball team, like this is the thing. With Adrian Griffin, we had this general sense that they'll figure it out. Like, that was always the thing. Doc Rivers comes in, and I think one of the first shows he said was, I think they'll be just fine. Like, they're like none of this was going. Like, this was always to me going to be where this team was going to land as being good. Now, Doc Rivers has had, again, he brought this veteran presence, this leadership to the team. He's made those incremental, those changes that need to be made off top. Where, like I said, you make the defense base a little bit more, a little bit closer to what Mike Budenholzer had, and I think it makes a lot of sense, especially with what this team, with how this team is playing, and kind of what they're geared for, and the personnel on the team. I think, like I said, that was the biggest issue with AG was probably Dr. Griffin was probably that he was trying to make Brook Lopez do some things that he just couldn't do. Whether or not it would have worked with a different personnel, I don't know. But you have to coach to the guys that you got. And that's what Doc Rivers is doing. So, again, a lot of credit, a lot of kudos to him 100%. And so, again, the Bucks they look good, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night as they take on the Miami Heat. Y'all guys want to do some game balls?
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Bucks win it 112-95, and we are going to hand out some game balls. I'm going to go first. I'll go first, and you guys know what I'm going to do. And that's the other reason why I really like this show. And, John, we talked about this before. I mean, the game that Giannis had, and we just kind of glossed over it. We really didn't even mention what Giannis did tonight outside the beginning of this program. So I'm going to start in my game ball. I have to give him his proper respect and his love. Got to show him the flowers. 36-18, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 74% shooting. Like he shot from the field better than he did from the free throw line because he shot 57% from the line. So Giannis is more automatic in the game of play at a high volume. That's a lot of shots, get up 19 shots, than he is from the line. He puts up 14 free throws. So again, Giannis did an excellent job all night long, and you're starting to see him get back to, remember, some of those games early in the season where he wasn't putting up double-digit rebounds. That's what you want to see, just being involved, grabbing rebounds, impacting the game in lots of ways. Giannis gets the guru game ball tonight.
I'm gonna give it to you. I am also gonna give it to Giannis. Okay. And I'm gonna add coming out 26-9 in that first half, and the Nuggets just could not recover. He was unbelievable. 10 for 12 in that first half, and just build upon that performance. Man, salute to GA for coming out and bringing it every night. Earns my game ball too.
Well, let's just make him go 3 for 3 then. I just love the fact that Giannis gets up for every game, not even just every game, but also every game versus a superstar. It feels like he takes it personal, and I thought that's what it was tonight. Like you said, Trey, earlier in the broadcast, he looked like he was just different out there than Jokic. I mean, he way more athletic, quicker, faster, stronger, finding the mismatches, but also playing great defense. Just what that guy does should never be overlooked. So let's go 3 for 3 on GA.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good. It's one of the first time we've gone 3 for 3. I'll take that. Before we go, and this is real quick because people have asked about it in the chat. I almost forgot. Before we go to the look around, and obviously we're going to talk about what happened in the Super Bowl last night. But I do want to ask you guys about the buyout market and where do you think the Milwaukee Bucks go? Obviously, they traded Robin Lopez as well. We talked about that. And they have an open roster spot. So the buyout market, again, some potential candidates. You look at Danilo Gallinari, who will probably be available. You look at PJ Tucker. I don't know if PJ Tucker is actually going to get bought out. I have a feeling that he won't because, again, he has a player option. It would just be crazy. His player option worth like $10 million. It would just be crazy for him personally to take a buyout and not have that player option. I just don't feel like that makes a lot of sense for him. There's guys like Wesley Matthews who potentially are going to be available. I thought I saw in the chat. So I said Daniel House. Where do you Thaddeus Young? Some of these guys. Where do you think the Milwaukee Bucks go at the buyout market?
Oof. That's a good point, right? Naturally, I would say. I mean, you're probably going to look at what, a big. Would you be looking at a big at this point? And then the question is, all right, well, if you're looking at bigs, what direction do you go in there, right? I don't love it, but maybe Marcus Morris. Do you see what he's got? Again, and this is maybe, right? Something you think about. Are there any teams he's rumored? I guess let me see.
For the record, so just so you know, Patrick Beverley actually reported that this is crazy. Patrick Beverley reported that Marcus Morris is going to sign with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Look at Pat Bev, man.
Pat Bev breaking news out here.
Look at Pat Bev just adding value.
New media. Well, that's what Draymond calls it. New media.
Adding value everywhere. Go ahead, Pat Bev. Man, I can't even knock it, right? And again, like you said, that you look at that Young. I mean, I don't love it, right? I don't love the big man options for the buyout market, but I'm assuming you're going to be looking at a big man when you ask what the Bucks are going to do with the buyout market.
I'd like to see Thad Young. I think that would provide some help defensively off the bench, and a guy who's a seasoned veteran as well. But the Daniel House thing that Green Ranger brought up, I think he would provide a lot, especially because, like he said, he played under Doc, but also just another 3-and-D guy. Look, you can never have too many, and guys who can play important minutes down the stretch in important games who have already been there, just in case they're – because we've seen deficiencies, right? When they get to the playoffs, people have shot the hell out of the ball in the regular season, then got to the playoffs and then can't make anything. So if we can just increase the amount of guys who play that kind of role, I think it would be good for our options and for Doc when it comes to playoff time and our depth.
Yeah, and I feel like, there's some guys that are just like pure shooters, and I feel like AJ Green's one of those guys that it doesn't matter if it's the playoffs, don't matter regular season, don't matter if you bring him out in the park, don't matter if it's cold, don't matter if it's wet out, doesn't matter the condition. AJ Green just looks like a guy who's going to shoot. It's just not going to matter. So I'm hoping, to your point, Chris, that he's not one of those guys that his shot just goes away in the playoffs magically. You're like, what the hell happened? And like I said, that's like my biggest fear for like a Malik Beasley, because you've seen him go through a cold streak already, and he's a more streakier shooter. I hope that we get to Malik Beasley and with the end of the season and he's on a hot streak shooting, because if he is, he can be a difference. But again, I think the same thing about a guy like AJ Green. So that's where we are on the buyout market. Yeah, I think, like I said, any of those names at the buyout market, I just don't think anybody really impacts what's going to happen with the Milwaukee Bucks. So, it really doesn't matter. Obviously, unless there's some type of injury, then that would impact things. Let's do a look around, see what happened in the NBA. The Timberwolves are up right now by 2 over the Clippers. The 76ers beat the Cavaliers. That's a good result for the Milwaukee Bucks. The Charlotte Hornets beat the Indiana Pacers. How about the new look Hornets getting themselves involved after getting beat down by the Bucks too? The Spurs beat the Raptors. You know that Victor Wembanyama's stat line? Anybody want to know what it was tonight, JT?
He had like 10 blocks or something crazy.
27 points, 14 boards, and 10 blocks.
And one of the silliest outfits I've ever seen somebody wearing into there. I ain't a grown man gonna put that mess on.
I wouldn't call him a grown man yet.
Man.
He's still young. He's younger than me.
Was he 18?
Probably 18 or 19, one of the two.
18 or 19? And he French, so they'd be a little different.
Oh yeah, that's different.
They'd be a little weird.
They got all.
I'm sorry. You know what? We're not going out. They're just different. They're just different, right? I had a teammate from France. He was different. Man.
Okay.
Well,
it's a different culture. You should be a little from different places. Should be a little different, right?
Yeah, man.
No.
Maybe I'll tell these stories later. What this dude used to do.
Okay.
We'll have some good stuff in the offseason for that.
Yeah, plenty of time off season for that. Bulls win 136-126 over the Hawks. There's a lot of action tonight. Pels beat the Grizzlies. The Rockets beat the Knicks. Another good result for the Bucks. The Mavericks beat the Wizards. And the Golden State Warriors have maybe they've started their ascent. They've won 5 in a row. And that's good for them. So the Golden State Warriors get a W as well. People thought they were dead in the water. Maybe they're picking it up. They're still 10th in the West right now, but they are just half a game back against the LA Lakers. You look at the standings out east. The Bucks with the win tonight. They are now just a game behind Cleveland. With Cleveland's lost, the New York Knicks are now 2 games behind the Bucks. So the Bucks creating some distance between 3 and 4 just a little bit. And there's a potential chance that the Milwaukee Bucks can catch the Cleveland Cavaliers before the All-Star break. They have 2 more games. Again, they have one tomorrow night against the Miami Heat and then one more against the Memphis Grizzlies before the break. So you're hoping you can get 2 wins there, and we'll see what Cleveland does. So all things looking up for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then, of course, we got to talk about what happened last night at the Super Bowl. You can go wherever you want to go with this. You can talk about the Usher performance. I thought Usher halftime, solid 7, 7.5. I thought it was good, not great. I think that's my thing about the Usher. I don't think it's one of those things that will be remembered. It won't stand a test of time. Like, we won't think about Usher and his performance in the way that we think about Prince in the Rain, Michael Jackson, even the Janet Jackson. I just don't think we're gonna think about it in that way. Did you also you heard when Alicia Keys started and she had a rough note to start off? Do you know the inner?
I wasn't
Do you know
listening. I was
you weren't
watching.
listening? Okay, well,
I was watching.
Yeah.
I was watching.
Because the funny thing about the Usher Alicia Keys thing is somebody was like, "Hey, ain't she married? Why ain't Usher respecting her marriage or whatever?" Right? And then the funny thing is, I'm like, well, Alicia Keys don't really respect marriage either, right? Like Alicia Keys don't really respect marriage either, right? I mean, like, hey, listen, I'm just saying, like,
I agree.
Because y'all can do your Googles and figure out she got was with beef. Like, listen, like, I'm just saying, man. But no, I thought he was in his bag last night. He went through like 13, 14 tracks, and I think although like some of the tracks were really short, it was like, wow, I ain't heard this in a minute. I thought he did a tremendous job. I thought it was an excellent show. And I do think it's gonna up there. It's gonna be memorable. I 100% do. Especially we brought Jermaine Dupri, brought Lil Jon, brought
Jermaine Dupri. I thought that was CeeLo. I thought it was CeeLo.
Yeah. Well, he looks terrible, but like, like generally speaking, no. I thought he was in his bag, right? And everybody 30 plus was moved. Everybody 30 plus was moved by the millennial generation, right? Gen Z was like, but the millennial generation was certainly moved, and he did more dancing than Rihanna, who was, I guess, a child last year.
Yeah, I liked Usher. I mean, I'm Gen Z. I think it was good.
But you wasn't alive for Confessions. Were you alive for Confessions? Right.
No, but I'm hip though. I'm hip. I'll be listening. Hey, don't mess.
I was in my bag.
Yeah, but you know what? I know what I'm doing though. I got the R&B playlist. You know, I set the mood here and there. So you know, I'm hip to Usher's bag, and I thought he did a good job.
I give you credit, Chris, because you got some soul in you, sir. I
appreciate that.
100% give you credit, right? I'm just saying that 7 o'clock on the dot, drop top, right? Like I remember where I was at when I heard that, just like I'm sure Trey did, right? Everybody's in elementary school, but it's all good.
Robert Henry says, "Great Super Bowl. Chiefs own the decade so far. Mahomes is the man after Brady." So let's so we talk about Usher. Let's get to the game. I thought a couple things. I thought Kyle Shanahan got outcoached. He was outcoached. I thought as soon as this is you talk about it, some people said that Kyle Shanahan is the Doc Rivers of the NFL. He's losing all these Super Bowls.
You better leave Doc alone.
After having him leave,
at least Doc finished one.
that was funny, But yeah, again, when they took the ball in the overtime, it just and then the players after the game, I couldn't believe the players after the game were like admitting that they didn't know the rules, and like that was crazy. That was just crazy to me. But it showed that there was some type of a lapse in preparation, because there's no reason you take the ball first with these new overtime rules. It's just like college, I thought maybe the reason was he thought his defense was tired, but that wasn't even his reasoning. Like if that's your reasoning, I can maybe get with it. But his reasoning was, when we got the ball third, and I was like, you got to get through the first two scores. Like who told you just gonna run down and score a touchdown, and KC run down and score a touchdown, and then y'all can get the ball third and go win like that? You missed some process there. So I thought that was a problem for them. I thought the other thing that was a problem, of course, the game-changing moment was the punt that got muffed, and Kansas City scored off that. But you talk about opportunities that were missed. One of the opportunities that was missed, was Pat Mahomes to an interception, just overthrew. I think it was Kelsey who was trying to get it to, and they couldn't score. And so there was a stretch where they just got away from getting the ball to Christian McCaffrey. And for whatever reason, the 49ers got away from it. And after the game, some of the guys from Chiefs talked about it. They just wanted to make Brock Purdy throw the ball. And I think it showed with the difference between a game changer and a game manager. So everybody should apologize to Cam Newton for saying what he said. Cam Newton was right. He told you the difference between a game changer and a game manager. Brock Purdy's a game manager. Patrick Mahomes is a game changer. Game manager goes down, gets you 3 points in overtime. Game changer goes down, gets you touchdown. Call the deuces. It's a game over.
To be fair, when Cam Newton said this about Tua and Brock, we all agreed on T's and Q's. We 100% agreed on T's and Q's. People saying, Dak, but we all agreed about Tua and Brock being game managers, right? Having said this, I did not count on Kyle Shanahan going full on Kendall Roy and just making the most foolish decision possible to drive this thing into the ground. I had absolutely no idea Kyle Shanahan had that in him. And when I saw that in overtime, I said, okay, all right, now we're on goofy time. The moment has gone too big and we just are wilding right now. Why in the hell would you put yourself in a position to where you're going to set the tone? Because I guarantee you, if you didn't get 7, you just knew Patrick Mahomes was going to. Absolutely not. I don't know. And here's my other thing. Kyle Shanahan, how did you not have trust in your defense after the way they played all night? Like, how did you not have trust in your defense to be like, no, we're going to stop him, right? Because the reality of it is, if you'd have stopped him, you'd be like, shit, we should win this thing with a field goal, keep this thing pushing, right? Like, I don't understand the thought process behind that. Yes, I agree. The fumbled punt was an issue, but there was a couple of issues that I just didn't quite I had a hard time figuring out with the 49ers, right? Obviously, Christian McCaffrey did his thing. You called his number a lot, and I thought he played a hell of a game last night. I really do, right? But then here's the other thing. Brandon Ayuk had 6 targets, right? 3 catches. I feel like, right? Debo had 11 targets and had 3 catches. Wait a minute, right? How? I don't understand. Are we just locked in on Debo here? Debo had 11. To be fair, Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle had a grand total of 9 targets. So Debo having 11 targets and 3, there's some things that just didn't make sense. I think in the passing game, I think you went to that well a little bit too early and too often. You didn't fully use your weapons if you're Brock Purdy. Having said that, again, I thought he played a hell of a game, right? I thought he played a hell of a game, and yes, I'm a little biased based on 7th round pick, last pick of the draft. And nobody even thought you were going to be in the NFL roster 18 months ago. You were 3rd string, and you come in, and hey man, I think he's done well, and I do think his ceiling is fringe top 10 QB in the league. I do, right? Now again, that's not necessarily elite, right? But yeah, I think Brock Purdy, and I think right now you may be able to pencil him in as a top 10 QB in the league, probably around 9 or 10, but you know.
I think this was more about the personnel of the Chiefs, honestly. I thought that even with the Pacheco fumble, for them to be able to stay 10 points or 7 points within at halftime, it just showed that this Chiefs team was no joke, and they had it rolling at the right time. Look, Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce didn't get anything, it felt like, in the first half. So you knew that was coming. And then once that did, the defense locked in. They didn't allow a single point in the third quarter. The muff punt certainly helped. But I thought, man, like Chris Jones as well, the 2 DBs, McDuffie and Snead, those guys made huge plays all night for the Chiefs. And that's why you saw the targets and the lack of yards from the 49ers' so-called juggernaut offense, because McDuffie had that thing strapped. Snead had Ayuk and Debo strapped. I mean, it was just a great defensive showing by the Chiefs. And then when, like I told JT, I said, you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I felt that every time he got the ball, I was like, all right, this is – or in important moments, I'm like, all right, they're going to drive down here no matter what. And then especially, on those 4th downs and the 3rd and longs and stuff like that, like I don't think he wavered at all. I didn't have any nerves for him. Like I thought I had all the confidence in the world that he was going to be able to convert. And he did just that. I mean, he just delivered. He's probably the GOAT. He's getting there at least. So yeah, I love to see what the Chiefs were able to do. Great coaching as well. Spagnuolo sends some great blitzes in important moments, and they came through. It was a really good showing by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, that's who deserves a lot more credit than people are giving him. Spagnuolo, man. Look, and I read something somewhere. He's the first coordinator, I think, to get 4 Super Bowls. Right? He's the first coordinator to do so. I think he got a couple. I want to say New York. Is that right? Is that where he got a couple in New York? Something like that, right? But he is the first coordinator to get 4 Super Bowls, and rightfully so. It's very, very well deserved for him. Another thing that I'll say, listen, man, the game-winning play, it wasn't Patrick's arm, right? It was Lavon's feet. Because that 4th down in overtime, when he ran that read option, and he tucked that thing and ran for 15, 16 yards, that's what set that whole thing up, man. It was – and it just goes to show you that an athlete at quarterback is incredibly invaluable, because I don't think there's that many quarterbacks in the league that could have pulled that thing down and ran it like he did to put his team in position to win this thing. Y'all remember that play? It was like 4th and 2 or something, and Patrick pulled that thing down, boy, and he did it. It was a great call. But yeah, you can give credit for the call, but you saw that boy put that foot in the ground and get the knees up, and I was impressed.
And shout out,
Yeah.
I'll just say last thing for me on the Super Bowl. Shout out to McCole Hardman. I mean, he got a ton of flack for fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line versus the Bills. He got cut by the Jets, and he made big plays. I mean, he only had 3 catches, but 2 of the 3 were just huge. Obviously, Pacheco coughed up the ball the next play, but that could have set them up for a big touchdown or whatever. And then just him being able to stick it out, knowing the offense, they went to him and he made the play. Good call offensively by Andy Reid, and I mean, shout out to him for keeping his head on his shoulders.
You know what's wild about McCole Hardman? Go ahead, Trent.
No,
I'm about to tell y'all something wild about McCole Hardman. So you know the funny thing is he got the Jets to pay him all that money, right? Just for him to get traded in the middle of the year back to the Chiefs and get a ring. Boy, that is beautiful. What the Jets give him? What was that? You anybody know what that contract was?
I don't have it in front of me. I have to look that up to see what he actually.
I don't know,
got.
but he finessed. He finessed.
No, sure. he ain't playing. Like McCole Hardman is not playing, right? And went ahead and hey, he got his money and he got his ring. And you know what? Salute to that brother.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Salute to him. He did his thing. Had a great Super Bowl. But yeah, I guess the only thing I'll say to wrap the Super Bowl talk up is it's so tough, especially when you think about San Francisco, and you think about around the league. One of the blueprints to win the Super Bowl is I'm gonna have a young quarterback, not making a lot of money, and I'm gonna put this great team around him. And, we're going to win like that. And again, you look at San Francisco and what they're going to have to do is their window kind of closes or whatever, is make that decision on Brock Purdy when his deal comes up, about how much they want to pay him and whatnot. But, this is, the best example of that. Like, you have a young quarterback not making a lot. And this is, can you put a better team around the guy than the way that the San Francisco 49ers constructed their roster from a team-building standpoint, and it still wasn't enough. I don't even know. There's a lot of people who do that, and that's a blueprint they try and get. The young quarterback is not making a ton of money, but this is probably one of the better teams that you've seen do that, and it's just not enough when you're going up against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. He's absolutely on his way to being the GOAT. Some people call him the GOAT already, whatever you want to do. But yeah, he is one of the greats of all time, and he's chasing Tom Brady, and the Kansas City Chiefs have a dynasty right now, winning 3 championships in the last 5 years. Running back, the Bucs win it 112-95 over the Denver Nuggets. Any final words on what you saw tonight with the Bucs?
BTA tour continues. Let's go. On to the Heat.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be right back at it with Cream City Crossover. Appreciate all the subs, the likes. Everybody's been great to us, and we're going to continue to pump out great content for you guys. I saw 608 UW wants to see my playlist, so maybe we'll do that. We'll do that another time, special for him. You can see my Apple Music. Since Gabs Miranda didn't want to see it, so
we ain't talking about that.
Yeah, let me get a stray out there. But yeah, so glad to see AJ Green going crazy hooping, and Pat Bev making an impact, and I think it's going to continue to stack wins. I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll be back with you guys tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Bucks and Heat, and the Bucks finish up with the Grizzlies before the All-Star break on Thursday night. So again, the Bucks have an opportunity to take a 4-game win streak, and at this point, you might as well go ahead and do it. You can take a 4-game win streak into All-Star weekend. I think again that would just be absolutely lovely if the Bucks would go ahead and make sure that happens. Again, the Bucks win it tonight. The final 112-95. We appreciate everybody for joining us tonight and watching and listening. If you listened on Twitter, watch on Twitter. If you watch on the YouTube, we appreciate it. Like, follow, subscribe. Again, we are on the push right now for the subscribers. So get it, do it. Tell a friend to tell a friend about the Cream City Crossover, because we do this every single game. After every single game, we are here dropping videos, dropping content. So again, we appreciate you, and again, all your likes, follows, subscriptions, they just help us continue to do that. So we appreciate you for doing it. Bucks win it tonight 112-95. This has been a Cream City Media Group production from the Guru Trey Crosby III,
JT,
Chris King,
Hey, man, don't take no wooden nickels. Courage.